Everybody. I'm going to talk about some personal experiences at the heart of the conversation today that I had while I was working in China for over 7 years for the IBM company. But first I wanted to kind of go to the title of my presentation for a second with the idea of human plus machine helping with something. It's kind of funny in today's world with AI and cognitive computing growing and grabbing a lot of press attention. When you say those two things together, you'll get excitement or you'll get anxiety, a lot of different reactions, whether it's with companies or whether it's individuals. Yet it's not a very new idea. The idea of combining human innovation, creativity, building, along with the benefits of creating a machine that can help those things, the problem is trying to be solved, be more efficient, can be automated, have risk taken out of it, has been around for a very long time. In fact, it drove the Industrial Revolution. It's been driving the information technology revolution and has actually underpinned urbanization, globalization, and the growth that we've seen in the last 30, 40 years now in those areas at extreme pace. So it brings great benefit with it, but it also can bring challenges. And one of the challenges is keeping balance while you're going through the development itself, and balance between social needs, economic needs, individual needs, the citizen themselves, and the environment. And if you're going so fast that balance spins out of control in one area, or you put your foot on the accelerator too hard in an area, you can have unwanted or unintended consequences. This is the Forbidden City circa 2014, and this is my wife and I on that same day where we had migrated ourselves to designer mass by this point. We've been in China for about 5 years. And you look at the picture and say, economic development, industrialization, you look at all of those things, it sits behind what you see in the air, but it's not that new actually. If you were in LA in the late 60s, all the way back to the early 50s, you would have seen scenes very similar to this. If you were in London in the 1950s and experienced the great smog in the 1950s in London, you would have seen things like that. So it's not a new circumstance completely that you see these kind of impacts on environment when you have economic development, industrialization, those type of things going on. So the real question is what to do differently, how to change this cycle. And actually, even microcycles exist underneath this in cities as they urbanize, even in the industrialized Western world. As more transport arrives in, more people arrives in, air quality can actually start coming down, CO2 emissions can start coming up, unless you can keep everything in balance as you go through that economic development cycle. So how do you address that? Well, the neat part is that there's a lot of possibilities, many, many possibilities today of levers that you have actually to get insight to the systems problem that sits underneath this, things getting out of balance and not being able to have the right kind of insights to the needs of the economy, the government officials that are responsible for that economy actually, to the citizens' needs, and to be able to look at all of those systems and the needs and the opportunities associated with them and find balance. And how do you get the balance is by sharing information, by sharing insights, building trust between those systems based on information, and then taking that information and getting deeper insights of how those interactions between those systems and those parts of the economy, when working together collaboratively, can actually produce different kinds of outcomes. Because at the end of the day, what people want and what drives change are people's wants, ultimately, their needs, their desires, what society would like to do, the best visions of themselves, is clean, safe communities that they can live in. And they want to develop those quickly, rapidly, and want to live in things that they've dreamed of during their lives. And it's really these desires that people have and the society has is actually driving the whole green revolution. When you look at what's going on actually in the change in the utility industry and the transformation there that's going, that's driven by society saying we now have the possibility of doing something differently, something that fits the way we want to use energy and produce the outcomes for the planet, for my family, for my health, all the things associated with that that I desire, and that independence is now arising. It was those desires that started our research team in China to look at what could we do working with the Chinese government to help them make better decision on a day-to-day basis of the levers they could pull to actually change the way things looked in China, in the cities and in the communities on a day-to-day basis. If you're sitting in the control room of a Chinese government building in Beijing or in Shanghai, you can change traffic patterns, you can shut down industry around you, you can look at the type of vehicles you have on the road. Many different things pull, but they all have outcomes and impacts based on what you're doing, and you're being graded on it, and actually all governments are being graded on how they make those decisions every day. By using artificial intelligence, cognitive technologies, IoT, many of the buzzwords you hear every day now, we've actually been able to give much deeper insights of what levers to use at what time to change outcomes on a day-to-day basis by looking further ahead and forecasting what the problem would be so you can make better decisions earlier to change the way the air quality would be or what people are doing that affect the air quality, whether economically or personally. And the net effect of that is actually to produce more days like this, more beautiful days for people to enjoy in Beijing in this case, and looking at another picture of the Forbidden City, which is actually a gorgeous city and a phenomenal place, but when it's covered and you can't see it, obviously it doesn't have the same kind of personal impact you'd like to have for it, or doesn't show your community in the way you'd like your community to be seen. I started the conversation with a bit of a dialogue on people, and people are at the forefront of the innovation and will drive the change that's actually needed in solutions, and I want to let our Chinese research team talk to you for just a moment to get a better idea of the work they've done.
我是绿色地平线计划的一名研究人员，也是一个5岁孩子的妈妈。很多人关注雾霾，是因为孩子，他们是空气污染最小也是最无助的受害者。孩子在旅行或者在北京看到难得一见的蓝天白云时，都会很兴奋，而这些在我们小时候都是司空见惯的。现在成了奢侈品。我和我的同事意识到，绿色地平线计划是我们要带着使命感去做的事情。
近年来，越来越多的人们开始关注空气污染，关注环境保护，因为这和我们每一个人的生活都息息相关。公众的参与度越来越高，一方面，大家通过空气质量的情况，更好地规划自己的户外活动，降低空气污染对健康的危害；另一方面，大家从自身做起，用不同的方式参与到各种环保行动中，为改善我们的生活环境而贡献力量。
绿色地平线计划启动1年多来，我们一直在为中国的可持续发展做出努力。现在，我们已经在空气质量管理、新能源高效利用以及工业企业的节能减排等领域都取得了一些初步的成果。
One of our most pioneering work is the air quality management system, which enable government officials to predict, identify, and track sources of pollution in a particular region. It works by collecting varied data from different sources, including environmental data, weather monitoring stations, satellites, terrain maps, even social media, economy, and public health data. The idea is to use combined power of big data analytics, Internet of Things, and cognitive computing to gather and analyze huge amounts of data about our environmental ecosystem. We assimilate all those data and use cognitive technologies to analyze and understand the current air quality condition and their impacts. The system allows us to predict air quality levels and patterns, not only for today, but for next 7 to 10 days.
我们现在在中国的工作，可以帮助下一代从口罩中解脱出来，保持我们和自然和谐的关系。但是我们不会就此停止。环境污染和气候变化是全球面临的普遍问题。我们在中国所做的工作，也可以帮助其他国家拥有自己的绿色地平线。For our children,
for our environment,
for our happiness,
for our planet.
Thank you very much for your time.